All Amanda ever wanted was Daniel's love. That night, he smiled at her sweetly, called her my love, held her hand, promised a new beginning, and took her out to dinner. She thought he had finally fallen in love with her. But hours later, she was buried alive in a shallow grave by the man she trusted the most. Trust killed Amanda faster than hate ever could. Long before Amanda went missing, there lived a young man named Daniel in the colorful, noisy city of Lagos. Daniel was handsome, kind, and very smart. He wore neat suits every day, worked in a shiny bank, and lived in a cozy little apartment that always smelled like fresh soap and lavender candles. Daniel loved three things more than anything else in the world: his family, his friends, and most of all, treasure. His beautiful fiancée, who was far away in America, studying for her master's degree. Even though treasure was many miles away, Daniel loved her with all his heart. Every day they would talk on the phone and laugh like they were sitting beside each other. They dreamed about their wedding, their new house, and the children they would one day have. Daniel was loyal. He didn't look at other women. He didn't go on dates. He was waiting patiently for treasure to come back, just like he promised her. Everything was peaceful, until one Saturday night. Daniel had just finished a long, tiring week at work. He sat on his soft brown couch, munching on crunchy chips, watching a big football game on TV. The cold air from the fan blew on his face. Felt so good. Suddenly, his phone buzzed loudly beside him. It was Henry. "Bro, what's up?" Daniel said, smiling. Henry's voice was full of excitement. "Let's hit the club tonight. Just chill a little. We deserve it after this crazy week." First, Daniel wanted to say no. He wanted to stay in his cozy apartment, eat more chips, and sleep. But Henry kept begging and laughing and calling him an old man. Daniel laughed too and finally gave in. Okay. Let's go have some fun," he said. He didn't know that night would change his life forever. The club was loud. Colorful lights flashed everywhere. Music pounded so hard that Daniel felt it in his chest. People were dancing, shouting, laughing. He and Henry ordered drinks, cold, sweet, and strong. As the night got darker, Daniel felt lighter. He laughed more. He danced a little. He drank a little more. Everything around him felt like a fun, dizzy dream. Then Henry tapped him on the shoulder, grinning mischievously. "Bro, check out that hot girl over there," Henry said, pointing. Daniel turned his head. And there she was. Sitting alone in the corner was a girl so beautiful, it almost didn't feel real. Her black hair fell in soft waves around her face. She had shiny eyes that glowed like little stars. And in her slim fingers, she twirled a cigarette, blowing out tiny clouds of smoke. She was staring at Daniel. And she didn't look away. Henry chuckled. "She's been checking you out all night. Bro, you've still got it." Daniel smiled lazily. "Of course, who wouldn't look at me?" he joked. "But I'm not interested. Treasure is my girl." Henry frowned. "Come on, man. Be real. It's been 2 years since she left. 2 years. Do you even know what she's doing over there? She could be having the time of her life without you. One night with a girl here doesn't mean you don't love treasure." Daniel tried to speak, but Henry cut him off. "No excuses. I'm getting her for you." Before Daniel could say a word, Henry had already walked over to the girl. Daniel sat there, frozen, feeling his heart beat faster. In a few minutes, Henry returned with the girl. "Amanda." She smiled sweetly at Daniel and sat beside him. Her perfume was strong, sweet and dizzying like the flowers in a deep jungle. Her voice was soft like velvet when she said, "Hi." Daniel wanted to say no. He wanted to stand up and leave. But the drinks in his belly made him slow. His head spun like a top. And when Amanda touched his hand lightly, it felt like a spark had shot through him. That night, Daniel took Amanda home. They stumbled into his apartment, laughing and whispering. The world felt far away like a blurry dream. In the warm, sleepy darkness, they kissed. One kiss became two. Two became more. And before Daniel could even think about treasure, He and Amanda had made a terrible mistake. The next morning, the sun shone harsh and bright through Daniel's windows. He woke up slowly, his head pounding, turned, and saw Amanda lying beside him, smiling. Panic rushed into Daniel's chest. What had he done? Amanda sat up and asked sweetly, "Can I have your number?" Daniel hesitated. His mind screamed no. But he was too ashamed, too confused, too weak. He scribbled his number on a small piece of paper and handed it to her. Amanda kissed his cheek, slipped on her dress, and left with a little wave. As soon as the door shut, Daniel sat on the bed, covering his face with his hands. He had betrayed treasure, and he could never undo it. He swore to himself right there and then, "This will never happen again. Never, ever." But Daniel didn't know. The nightmare was only just beginning. Monday morning came with bad news. Daniel had just settled into his chair at the bank when a loud ding sounded from his email. He opened it quickly. It was from the Human Resources office. The message was short but heavy, like a stone dropped in water. Any staff who does not meet their target this month will be sacked. Daniel's hands felt cold. His heart thudded loudly in his ears. "What am I going to do?" he whispered to himself. He needed help and fast. He rushed to his branch manager's office, his heart racing like a drum. "Sir, please," Daniel said, trying not to sound desperate. "Do you have any contact I can follow up with?" The branch manager, a kind man, leaned back in his chair and thought for a moment. Finally he smiled and said, "I'll help you. Here's Chief Jackson's number. He's very rich, oil and gas. If you play your cards right, you'll be fine." Daniel's chest filled with hope. He grabbed the paper with the number like it was a golden ticket. That afternoon, Daniel called Chief Jackson. Chief Jackson's voice was deep and firm. "Come to my office tomorrow," the chief said. "We'll talk." Daniel smiled so much his cheeks hurt. Maybe, just maybe, things would turn out fine. That evening, Daniel rushed home. He took a long hot bath, put on fresh clothes, and lay on his bed, calling Treasure. He told her everything about the email, about Chief Jackson, about his hope. Treasure prayed with him over the phone. "Everything will be okay," she whispered. Daniel closed his eyes and held on to her words like they were a soft blanket on a cold night. The next morning, Daniel was ironing his shirt when his phone buzzed loudly. He picked it up without thinking. It was Amanda. "Daniel," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm pregnant. And it's yours." The iron slipped from Daniel's hand and crashed to the floor. He stood there, frozen like a statue. His mind went blank for a few seconds. Finally he found his voice and said, "That's not possible. It was only once." Amanda didn't back down. "I'm sure, Daniel. It's yours." Daniel's hands trembled. He quickly promised her, "I'll call you back after work," and hung up. His heart thumped painfully inside his chest. He sat down heavily on the bed, staring at nothing. Amanda's news had crushed him like a giant rock. But he had to keep himself together. Today was too important. Later that day, Daniel met with Chief Jackson at his big, shiny office. The chief wore a crisp white outfit and had a heavy gold ring on his finger. Daniel spoke politely, carefully choosing every word like he was walking on a rope high above the ground. To Daniel's joy, Chief Jackson smiled and agreed to open an account. He even promised to put in a huge amount of money the next week. "Come back then," the chief said. "I will also introduce you to my friends." Daniel left the meeting feeling lighter, like a big load had been lifted off his shoulders. Finally, a bright light was shining through his dark clouds. But deep inside, Amanda's call still burned like a hidden fire. That night, after pacing up and down his small living room, Daniel called Amanda. "Let's do a DNA test," he said quietly. Amanda agreed without a fight. The next morning they met at a hospital. Daniel sat nervously in the cold white waiting room. When the results came out, he felt like the whole world was crashing on his head. Daniel was the father. His heart raced so fast he thought it would burst out of his chest. He thought about Treasure, about all their dreams, all their promises, all the love they shared. Daniel pulled Amanda aside. He looked into her eyes and spoke gently, almost begging. "Please, Amanda, please. Abort the baby. I love someone else. We made a mistake that night." Amanda's face turned hard. "I'm not aborting my baby," she said sharply. "And I will not raise a child without being married. You must marry me." Daniel felt like he had been punched in the stomach. "I will not marry you," he said, his voice cold and heavy. Then he turned around and stormed out of the hospital. Amanda got home, her heart full of pain. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she told her father, Chief Jackson, everything. The chief's face turned dark with anger. "Pregnant out of wedlock. In my house. You have brought shame," he thundered. Amanda cried harder and dropped to her knees. "I'm sorry, Daddy. It was a mistake," she sobbed. Chief Jackson calmed down a little but still looked very upset. He wiped his face with his hand and said, "Call the man responsible. Tell him to come and see me." Amanda nodded quickly and ran to call Daniel. When Amanda told Daniel that her father wanted to see him, Daniel agreed, feeling tired and defeated. He dressed up neatly, not knowing that the man he was going to meet was the same Chief Jackson he had just started doing business with. When Daniel stepped into Chief Jackson's large living room, his mouth dropped open. Chief Jackson stared at him too, his eyes wide with shock. The room fell silent. You could almost hear a pin drop. Slowly, Chief Jackson spoke. "So, it's you." Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to disappear. Chief Jackson's voice turned hard as iron. "What are your plans for Amanda?" he demanded. Daniel cleared his throat and spoke carefully. "Sir, I would appreciate it if Amanda could terminate the pregnancy. But if she insists on keeping the baby, I will take full responsibility. I will cater for the child. But I cannot marry her." Chief Jackson's face turned red with anger. "You will not disgrace my daughter," he shouted. "You will not drag my name through the mud. If Amanda keeps the baby, you must marry her. No arguments." Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but Chief Jackson cut him off. "Do the needful quickly before her belly starts to show," he barked. Daniel nodded slowly, feeling like the walls were closing in on him. That night, Daniel tossed and turned in his bed. Sleep ran far away from him. He stared at the ceiling, feeling like a prisoner inside his own life. Who am I to fight Chief Jackson? The almighty Chief Jackson of Jackson Oil and Gas. He whispered into the darkness. Daniel's heart felt heavy, like someone had tied a big stone around it. He thought about Treasure, her pretty smile, her soft voice, the dreams they had painted together like a beautiful picture. What will Treasure say? What will happen to us? I don't even love Amanda. He closed his eyes tight, wishing he could turn back the hands of time. I should never have listened to Henry that night, he cried softly to himself. Suddenly his phone buzzed. Another message. Another threat. Chief Jackson was not joking. Every message he sent was like a sharp knife cutting into Daniel's peace. He felt trapped, cornered, like a rat stuck in a cage with no way out. After many days of fear and cold sweats, Daniel gave up. He folded like a paper. He married Amanda. But he told no one. Not Treasure. Not even his family. He kept it locked deep inside his chest like a terrible secret. In the daytime, Daniel still called Treasure, laughing and joking with her, telling her sweet things. He acted like everything was perfect, hiding the ugly truth behind fake smiles. At home, Amanda's life was a river of tears. Even though her belly grew round with their baby, Daniel acted like she didn't exist. She would cook his favorite meals, hoping he would smile at her. But Daniel would come home, sniff the air and frown. He would push the food away like it was rotten. "Don't bother," he would snap, throwing his bag on the chair. Amanda would sit at the dining table alone, watching the food go cold, her tears dropping into her plate. At night, Daniel would turn his back to her in bed, leaving a huge space between them like a big, dark river. He never touched her. He never spoke kindly to her. If she made even the smallest mistake, like dropping a spoon or forgetting to turn off the light, Daniel would shout at her so loudly that the neighbors would hear. Sometimes, when his anger boiled too high, he would push her or slap her arm. Amanda would cry and cry, hugging her belly, whispering to her unborn baby, "Daddy doesn't mean it. Daddy will love us one day." She tried everything to win his heart. She bought him gifts, shiny wristwatches, expensive shirts, sweet perfumes. She prayed for him every night, kneeling beside the bed even when her knees hurt. But Daniel would throw her gifts in the trash. He would curse her. "You trapped me," he would scream. "You and your father tricked me. I hate you." When Amanda went to the hospital for her antenatal appointments, she always went alone. Other women came with their husbands, smiling and holding hands. But Amanda sat alone, her eyes always red from crying. At home, Daniel acted like she wasn't carrying his child. He acted like Amanda was just a stranger who lived in the same house with him. Most nights he would sit on the sofa, talking and laughing loudly with Treasure on the phone, right in front of Amanda. He didn't care if it broke her heart. Amanda would listen to his soft voice changing when he spoke to Treasure, sweet and kind, the way he never spoke to her. She would press her hand on her chest, feeling it break over and over again. When Amanda couldn't bear it anymore, she would call Henry, Daniel's best friend. She would cry and tell him everything. Henry would always sigh and say, "Don't worry, Amanda. Give him time. He will come around. He just needs time." Amanda believed Henry. She believed that one day, Daniel's heart would change. She held on to that tiny hope like it was a small candle in a very dark room. She never told her father, Chief Jackson, about the way Daniel treated her. Because deep down she loved Daniel, even when he hated her. And she didn't want her father to hurt him. Meanwhile, Daniel's mind was like a dark, boiling pot. Every night he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking, "How do I get rid of Amanda? How can I be free without getting into trouble?" His mind twisted and turned like a snake. Evil ideas danced in his head, whispering to him. But Daniel was careful. One wrong move and Chief Jackson would crush him like an ant. Still, the thought never left him. It kept him awake, night after night, plotting, planning, scheming. It was just 2 months before Treasure's graduation. Treasure told Daniel that her flight back to Nigeria was already booked. Daniel's heart started beating fast. He knew he needed to act quickly before Treasure returned. One Sunday evening, Daniel walked into the room where Amanda was sitting on the bed. He smiled sweetly at her. He called her all the sweet names he had never used before. Amanda was surprised. Her eyes grew wide like big balloons. "What is going on?" she thought. Daniel took her hands and said, "I'm sorry for all the times I treated you badly. I'm ready to make things right." Tears filled Amanda's eyes. "I forgive you, Daniel," she said happily. Her heart danced inside her chest. Then Daniel said, "Get dressed, beautiful. I'm taking you out for a nice dinner." Amanda almost jumped with joy. "I knew it," she whispered to herself, smiling wide. "I knew he would love me one day." She quickly dressed up, wearing her best gown, and they drove to a very big, fancy restaurant. At the restaurant they laughed and talked. Amanda felt like she was dreaming. While she was eating, she suddenly felt pressed and told Daniel, "I need to use the restroom." As soon as she left the table, Daniel quickly pulled out a small bottle of medicine, the one he bought some days ago, and poured it into Amanda's drink. He shook a little. His hands were cold and wet with sweat. But he forced himself to do it. Amanda came back smiling and sipped her drink without knowing anything. After a while Daniel said, "Let's go home early so I can prepare for work tomorrow." Amanda agreed, smiling shyly. As they drove home, Amanda started feeling funny. "Daniel, feel dizzy. I feel weak," she said, her voice soft like a whisper. Daniel nodded. "Don't worry, we're almost home," he said calmly, but inside he was shaking. While driving, he secretly took Amanda's phone and sent a text to her father, Chief Jackson, pretending to be Amanda. The message said, "Hey Dad, I'm on my way to your house. Daniel is out with the boys and I'm bored at home." He pressed send and slipped the phone back. Soon Amanda became fully unconscious. Her head dropped to the side. Daniel drove far, far away, to the very edge of Lagos, where the trees were thick and the night was very dark. He parked the car near a bush, grabbed a small shovel he had hidden earlier, and quickly dug a shallow grave. The stars above twinkled like they were watching him. Tears filled Daniel's eyes, but he pushed them away. "I have to do this. I have no choice," he muttered. He gently lifted Amanda, heavy with pregnancy, and placed her into the shallow hole. She didn't move. She didn't speak. Daniel quickly covered her with sand. When he finished, he fell to his knees, breathing heavily, his whole body shaking. He drove back home crying all the way. That night, Daniel called Chief Jackson and said in a panicked voice, "Hello, sir. Have you heard from my wife? I just got home, but I didn't meet her at home and her phone is switched off." Chief Jackson answered, "She sent me a message saying she was coming to visit, but I have not seen her yet." The next morning, everyone began searching for Amanda. Police were called. Newspapers wrote about it. Posters with Amanda's picture were everywhere. Chief Jackson tried everything: money, men, prayers, but no one found Amanda. And Daniel? He joined in the search too, pretending to be worried, pretending to be sad. No one suspected him. But every night when Daniel was alone, he heard Amanda's soft voice in the dark, whispering his name. "Daniel! Daniel!" 2 months later, Treasure graduated and returned to Nigeria. Daniel met her at the airport with fake smiles and warm hugs. She told him how much she missed him. He hugged her tightly, hiding the storm inside his heart. He quickly convinced Treasure, "Let's have a very small, quiet wedding, my love." Treasure agreed, though she didn't know why Daniel wanted it that way. They got married quietly. No drums, no big dancing. Everyone said, "They are a perfect couple." But Daniel knew the truth. A few months later, Daniel and Treasure moved back to America. From the outside, Daniel had everything he ever wanted: a beautiful wife, a good life. But inside, Daniel was broken. Every night, when Treasure slept peacefully beside him, Daniel stayed awake, staring into the darkness, hearing Amanda's voice, soft and sad. "Daniel, why did you do this to me?" He would close his ears tightly, but the voice would not stop. And deep inside, Daniel knew. No matter how far he ran, no matter how hard he tried to smile, he would never escape Amanda's voice, or the heavy burden he buried that cold night. Because some ghosts don't stay buried.